So this is completely besides the topic, but this is my adorable cat Ghibli, and a lot of you guys know him from Twitter, and he's going to help me with my introduction today by not wanting to be here. Everybody! I'm back with another video, and I just spent another 10 minutes recording a video without realizing I hadn't actually pushed the record button, and then before that I spent half an hour creating an entire special effects video for you guys after not using the correct microphone and then running out of data space on my laptop. So it's going really well today, but I'm going to re-record this for a third time and tell you guys what I am doing today. Basically what I'm going to be going over today is how you can make your own homemade special effects makeup. So even if you've got like Halloween coming up and you want to make some cool gory effects and scare your friends, things like that, or you just are really interested in doing special effects, I'm hoping that through this channel some of you guys will get a little bit more interested in doing this kind of thing, because I find it absolutely exciting and awesome and freaking wonderful, and you should too, because I do, so that's how it works. So anyway, I'm going to be showing you guys how to make substitutes for different things, because like most of us, we can't really afford to get the really pro special effects makeup, things like that. Affording Ben-Nye, depending on where you are in the country, can be hella expensive. Like I said last time, I live in New Zealand, and so that means that getting stuff here costs an extra $50 to however many dollars shipping, depending on what I am buying and where I'm getting it from and how much of it I'm actually getting. So I usually have to spend a whole bunch of money at once to buy some special effects products in bulk. But for a while, it wasn't the case for me. I got into special effects makeup about a year and a half ago. I was watching a channel called Made You Look by Lex. Lex is absolutely fantastic, okay? She does character makeup, face, body painting, beauty makeup, everything. She is an absolutely amazing, talented goddess of a woman, and she is the one who totally and utterly inspired me to get into special effects. Probably completely unwittingly, she did a really short playlist series of how to do bruises and cuts, things like that. And it was coming up to Halloween, so it was just a once-off wee thing that she did, and I absolutely fell in love with the crazy, cool, gory, awesome, bruisey things that you could do with special effects. And so I really wanted to get into it, but I didn't have the money at the time. So I ended up doing a whole bunch of research on how I could make my own homemade special effects stuff, and it was a bit of a fruitless effort for quite a while. But after a long time of really wanting to be able to do that, I found my own way of creating what isn't exactly the same, but is another kind of product or homemade thing that you can use to eventually get to the same effect. So one of the things is a substitute for the Ben-Nye special effects wax, or any special effects wax really. Ben-Nye seems to be the most commonly used one, and that was the sticky stuff in the last video that I made, aka the first video I ever made, totally. And it was the really sticky wax thing that you used on top of your skin to build up skin so that you actually have something to cut into that isn't your hand, because that would be bad. So this kind of works in a similar way. It's not as strong or as thick or as, oh, it's actually quite as sticky, but it works the same way where you can build up the skin, you can still draw a line through it, open it up, make it look cool, like your skin's been all gross and ripped open and things like that. So that is the main aim of showing you guys today. What you're going to need for the homemade special effects wax is Vaseline, some flour. I have some normal plain grade flour here in a little bowl because I didn't want to use all of it. If my flatmates are watching this, I apologize. I'm not using all of the flat flour. If you really want me to buy more flour, I can. So, because I already did all of this blunder before and the recording failed, I have already mixed together a little bit of it. Basically what you're going to do is mix about a teaspoon or however much, depending on what you want to do. If you want to do a whole arm, mix more. But basically you're going to be doing about a 2-to-1 ratio of flour to Vaseline. Mixing that up with a knife or a spatula. Usually it's a really good idea to use one of the old Vaseline containers and just have a real go at it, mixing it up, things like that in there until you get a nice kind of thick, pasty consistency that you can use. So basically what you're going to do, unlike the wax, you're not going to have it in between your fingers and you're not going to be like rolling it and then spreading it out like that. The best way to use this is by getting it onto a really, like a spatula or a butter knife, something like that. Something that's not going to cut you, obviously, because that would be dumb because we're trying to make a fake cut, not a real cut. So I have a plain butter knife, star of most of my videos from now on out most likely, and what I'm going to use is a little bit of my pre-made stuff. There's a little bit of fake blood in there for you, and it's not entirely mixed, so I'll mix it a little bit on my hand. So basically what I'm going to use is, this is some of it. It basically still seems like the consistency of Vaseline, but the flour gives it a little bit more to build on, so that's what makes it build up. If it was just Vaseline, it would blend into your skin. But that's what helps it blend into the edges of your skin to make it look realistic. So that's pretty cool. So I'm going to show you guys what to do. So what I have here is the Vaseline and the flour that I've mixed together to create a bit of a paste. Over here, it isn't entirely mixed or complete, but I might mix it a little bit to show you guys, but I'm worried about mixing it because there's a little bit of fake blood in it and I don't want it to go pink. I've got a little bit of flour and I might mix it on my hand because sometimes that is a wee bit easier. If you find that's the case, feel free to do this the same way. Just mix it like this until you get a really nice mixture. And I've already got some red in it, but that's okay. Cool. So now you've got this big goopy paste mixture on the back of your hand. So what can we do with it? So what you can do is use your butter knife to scrape it all off your skin and then try and position it whichever way. Yesterday I did a cut straight across the hand, so we might try and replicate that this time. You'll be surprised you don't actually need that much of this. I've actually got a whole bunch on. You'll see as I go through with this, I'll end up taking a whole bunch off. And what you keep doing is building it up in the middle so that it's thicker in the middle, and then using your knife and just pressing down a little bit harder as you go towards the outside. So then basically when you've got a gross white pasty build up on the back of your hand, which you can go around with your finger and just blend it around the edges a little bit more. Quite a lot I found myself missing using my old kind of homemade stuff, because there's certainly a different effect. You can actually get quite a lot more realistic effects from using the homemade stuff, which you wouldn't really expect, but it's surprisingly good. So now that that's all spread out and the back of my hand is basically covered in Vaseline, see? So it's all covered in Vaseline and goop. I'm going to use basically the same knife, because I'm going to wipe it all off and I am going to shape out what I want my cut to look like. So as you can see, there's actually a little bit of a build up there, and I'm going to cut into it a wee bit more and just scoop out the Vaseline from the centre. So as you can see now, it's got quite a jagged edge to it around the outside, and I'm just going to get a little bit more away from the edges. So there we have basically the outline of that shape, and I know that it's very much trial and error. I know that when I made that quick little paste up just now, it's a little bit too much Vaseline and not enough flour, and you can tell that because of the way that it's sitting at the moment. You can definitely see that there's the lip there, and you've got the lips around the outside, but it's a little bit too runny for my liking. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to keep a little bit of that flour. You're not going to use it all in your Vaseline because you're going to want some left over so that you can powder up. Use a old brush. You don't want to use a good brush because you're going to end up with flour all through it, and just get a little bit of flour on it and tap it so that it sprinkles all over. So basically this is a stand-in for your usual translucent powder. Translucent powder is used to set the area. This is basically doing the same thing, because it's setting the Vaseline by adding a little bit more flour, which dries out the top of it and makes it look a lot more like skin. It's always good to do a couple of coats because the Vaseline will soak up the flour very easily, so it'll seep through over time. Plus it gives a really nice matte texture that looks a lot. Here we go. So that's what that looks like at the moment. So basically once you've done this, you're going to want to, you'll notice that it's a lot easier to see any kind of grooves or edges where it doesn't blend into the skin completely. So you can just use your finger to press them down and blend them out a little bit. It's going to be a little bit harder because it will start to stick up because of the setting powder. If that happens, just go back in with the setting powder and try and set it back down afterwards. So what you're going to do now is grab some blush. I have some blush just sitting over there beside me. Blush is something you can't really substitute. If you want to attempt to find a substitute for blush, feel free to. Please let me know, because I'd love to know if you could find a substitute for blush. But it's really easy to get. It can be really cheap. You can get it for 50 cents down at the $2 store, anything like that, and it works wonders. So we're just going to dab that on the area to make it look really red and irritated. Now, the camera's made that look very, very red, and in reality it's not actually that red. But what you're going to do is you can dab it around other places, things like that as well, so the whole area looks a bit gross and infected. When you hit an area of your hand or you cut yourself or something like that, usually the cut isn't super central, like there's definitely one main area of the wound, but you end up getting hurt in all sorts of different places. If you whack your hand against the wall, you're going to bruise in more than one area. So it's always a good idea to do a little bit of either redness or abrasions in different areas as well if you're trying to make it look a little bit more realistic. So now that we have powdered and made it look nice and red and irritated, we would be moving on to the next step, and the next step is blood. Now, the thing about blood is I don't have any with me here today that I can make, the homemade stuff at least. What you'd need is some red food colouring, is basically the key ingredient. The rest you're going to be mixing, there's a really good one that's corn syrup and water with a little bit of blue and red food colouring, mainly red, obviously you don't want to end up with purple blood, and you mix a little bit of cornstarch or a little bit of cocoa powder in to thicken it as you go. And basically that makes a really nice blood consistency. Trust me, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of different blood recipes online, so I urge you to go and have a look at those recipes, because you might look at one recipe and think you can't make it because you don't have the right ingredients at home, but if you keep searching you'll find that there's always going to be one that you have something in your cupboard, in your mum's cupboard, your granddad's cupboard, wherever you're staying, find their old cooking ingredients, things like that. And if you can get a hold of some red food dye, then you'll be all good for making homemade fake blood of any kind, congealed, dried, fresh, anything like that. So instead, today I am going to be using my usual blood, which is the Ben Nye stage blood, and I'm just going to be chucking a little bit in that. Basically the blood is what you do to sum it up. If you want it to look a little bit deeper, then you can put eyeliner or anything like that. Again, it's not something you can really substitute. If you wanted to make a really dark thing at the bottom, you could mix a little bit of cocoa powder with a tiny bit of water to make a really dark paste and put that in the middle, and that will give it a little bit more depth. But today I'm just going to be going into the middle of this from Ben Nye stage blood, and then I'm going to be spreading that out and making it look good. Just tipping your hand back and forth while I'm spreading out blood. Most of the time blood in any kind of wound, real or fake, tends to spread blood very heavily. And then if you want to go in with your finger and just lightly dab it, you'll be able to get a really nice stippled effect around the outside without a stipple sponge. So there we go, that was pretty gory. The cool thing about the Vaseline, and it means that the blood's going to sit on the fake skin really naturally. So basically you are pretty much done from here on out. If you want to, you can go back in with something pointed. I'm just going to use this knife. It's not actually sharp, trust me. Don't use a sharp knife. If you cut yourself, it is not my fault. Don't use a sharp knife. I'm telling you right here and now, I don't want you to get cut or hurt, okay? So what I'm going to do is go around the edges, and I'm just going to lift up that Vaseline skin wall kind of thing around the outside of the wound, just to give it a little bit more of a jagged look. Okay, cool. So the great thing about this particular mixture as well is if you want to make it look like there's little bits of flesh, as gross as that sounds, in your cut, you can mix a little bit of your mixture with the blood and leave it sit in the middle, and you'll end up with this really great fleshy kind of look in the middle of it. Then all you need to do is add a little bit more blood over top just to darken it up, like so, and you have yourself a pretty gory, nasty looking wound that's genuinely most likely going to fool most people into thinking that you've done something ridiculously stupid. And obviously that's the aim of this, because why else would we make ourselves look as though we hurt ourselves? There we have it. A little bit of blood running down the side. Yeah. The blood will run out pretty naturally. So that's why you see how as the blood runs out, the inside of it starts to get quite a lot lighter, and that's generally what happens. That's what's going to give away the fact that this is a fake wound. So if you do the eyeliner trick in the middle, that stops that from starting to go light as the blood comes out. But sometimes that does give it quite a good realistic look depending on the kind of injury that you're trying to do. If you wanted to make this look as though it's been ripped open by some kind of tin foil or gross shard, you can stick some little pieces of tin foil on the inside of it, and that'll make it look really realistic and cool as well. I did that once for Halloween. It freaked out my flatmates last year. If you want to make it look like there's some bone, a really good, cheap, easy way of figuring out how to give a bone look is to get an old toilet paper roll. Yes, toilet paper. And if you rip this open, you'll find out that the inside of it is white, which is usually perfect, especially if you don't have white blood, and I am dripping everywhere. I'm gonna eat this because it's eatable. Yeah. It doesn't taste that great. It's sweet, but it definitely doesn't taste like something you want to eat all the time. But good for cleanup. So basically that's really good if you don't have white paint or anything like that. You can rip off a little bit, stick it in your wound wherever you want to cut it. You can cut it to look like tendons, anything like that. Lay it in the middle of your wound, put a little bit of blood around the outside of it, and then you've got a little bit of bone looking thing in it, and it makes it really realistic. As weird as that sounds, it works really well. So basically that is it for today. If you guys really like this, then let me know. Hit the like button. I will see if I can figure out any other ways of doing some homemade things. I might be able to show you guys a video on how to actually do the bone trick, anything like that. And if you guys want to see some proper special effects with the brand name things, then let me know and I will try my best to do that. I hope you guys like this and learned a little bit about some spooky hand cut gore special effects things, and I'm hoping that you guys are starting to get the drift of why I actually absolutely love doing this kind of stuff, because you can create some seriously cool things with this. So yeah, thank you very much, I hope you liked it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye!